Hello students, in this lecture we will talk about a family of apply functions. So let's see what we will talk in this session. In this session we will discuss what is apply function, how can we create apply function with loops, what is lapply, combining lapply with square brackets. Then sometimes we can add our own functions like max min. What is sapply? Then applying of functions like while.max and which.max and which.min. Now, let's have a look of this table and understand what we are doing. We can see over here that in this table, it is a grid of rows and columns, and there are values. You can see there is row number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there is total of every column. You can see in the bottom, there is the total that you can see. So the total is there, and that total is a column total. So how to apply such kind of totals and find out the total of a column or total of a row? We can go for apply functions. So we can use the apply function when we want to apply a function to the rows or columns of a matrix or a data frame. So if we see the first function of apply, which is apply, we are basically dealing with the sum and total of rows and columns of a data frame. The syntax of apply is quite simple. Here we have to pass three arguments, where the first one is x. X is the name of the matrix of the data frame. So basically we can say that in the apply function, x is the data. Next we have margin. Margin indicates which dimension to perform an operation across. 1 is equal to row and 2 equals to column. So this means that whether I am doing a total of rows or doing a total of columns, which means row wise I am trying to find out the total, or column wise I want to find out the total. So if I want to find out the total of columns, in that case the value of margin would be 2. The next is the parameter called as fun. So fun is the specific operation that we want to perform. Fun can take many functions like min, max, sum, mean, etc. Now, let's come to a code and understand that how it works. The first part, the upper part of the code, is creating a data frame. We can see that we have called the data.frame function and we have created a variable data, which is of data type data frame. Here we have three vectors, A, B, and C. You can see over here that the vector A is having a value 1, 3, 7, 12, and 9, which is basically the first column of the data frame. The second column is B, which is 4, 4, 6, 7, 8. And the third vector is named as C, and the values are 14, 15, 11, 10, and 6. So you can see that there are three columns, A, B, and C. Now, we are printing the data on the screen by just writing the word data. You can see over there the output A, B, C. There we can see the output is coming on the screen, where A is 1, 3, 7, 12, 9, B is 4, 4, 6, 7, 8, and C is 14, 15, 11, 10, and 6. Now you can see over here that once I have created the data frame and I have seen the output of the data, I want to find out the sum of each rows, sum of columns, mean, and various things. So how will I go about it? That is what we are learning in this session. So here you can see that I apply the apply function for the first time, and within brackets I write data, which is my data frame variable. Second, I write 1, which means I am trying to find out the row totals. You please keep understanding that I want to find out the row total. And sum means that I am trying to find out the total. So basically data 1 and sum means that in the data frame data, find out the sum row wise. So now you see the answer 19, 22, 24, 29, and 23. We can see that the first row is having value 1 plus 4 plus 14, which is equal to 19. The second one is having 3 plus 4 plus 15, which is equal to 22. The third one is equal to 7 plus 6 plus 11, which is equal to 24. And if you see like that, we are trying to find out the row totals. Like that, we can see that the last one is 9, fifth row is 9 plus 8 plus 6, which is equal to 23. So I hope you are finding it easy to understand. I again explain you the same thing with the help of a column example. So here we want to find out the sum of each column. We have done apply, we call apply function. Within the function, we pass the variable data, comma 2, which means column, comma sum. So here A, B, C are the three variables and the summation of every column comes to 32, 29 and 56. You can take a call on any of the columns and verify the answer if you have any doubts. So you can see 56 is actually 14 plus 15 plus 11 plus 10 plus 6. So that is what makes it 56. So that is why we try to find out the values or the total of rows and columns. Now, in the third one, you can see that we are trying to find out the mean. We are trying to find out the mean of, let's say, every row. As we know that 1 stands for row and 2 stands for column. So if I write 2 for the parameter margin, it means I'm finding out the column totals, and if it is 1, it is row totals. So if I apply data with 1 comma mean, which means I want to find out the mean row by row. Row by row, I'm trying to find out the mean. So here you can see that the first row is having a value 1 plus 4 plus 14, which is equal to 19. So if 19 divided by 3, we will get 6.3. So that is how we are trying to find out the average. So I hope students you are liking apply function and you found it very simple. And definitely this is a function which can be used on data frames very easily, and we can apply this function and do a lot of such kind of calculations on the data that we possess. Now, let's take a variation of apply and understand better. Find the mean of each column rounded to 1 decimal place. Now, in this case, what I'm doing is I'm applying the function, but if the mean is having more than one significant digit in the result component, I am rounding that to 1 decimal place. So what I do, I pass the apply function within the round function. So students, round function is a mathematical function where the first parameter is the number and the comma, and the second one is the number of significant digits after the decimal point. So you can see over here, apply data comma 2 comma mean, where I pass the data. The data is what? Data is my data frame, which is my variable, comma 2, which means the column. I'm selecting every column, and then third is the fun, which is mean, which means I'm finding the mean of every column of the data. So you can see over here that the mean of A is 6.4, mean of B is 5.8, and mean of C is 11.2. So you can see over here that the output has 6.4 and not 6.3333, which we had earlier in the previous example. So basically, when there are more than one significant digits, in that case, we can select the round function and we can apply the apply function within the round function. Sometimes this is called as nesting of apply function, when we pass the apply function into another function so that whatever result comes with the apply function can be used for some other purpose. In the next example, we will see we want to find out the standard deviation of each row. So you can see over here that I have called the apply function, and within the function there is data, and column number is row number is signified by 1, and then SD stands for standard deviation. So basically SD is our fun. So data on every row, standard deviation. So the output you can see over here that the standard deviation is 6.80, 6.65 and so on. And then we have one more standard deviation function for column, where you can see the last example where we find out the standard deviation of each column. So we apply the function data comma 2 comma standard deviation. So data is what? Data is our data. 2 denotes that we are finding out the standard deviation of the column, and SG is our fun element which we are passing in the apply function so that we can have the function. So basically fun is mainly function, what function we are applying. So here standard deviation will calculate the standard deviation of every column, and you can see the column wise standard deviation value is coming 4.44 and 1.7. So that is how the values are coming, and we have to understand the concept of apply function, that the apply function has basically three parameters that we pass. The first one is the matrix or the data frame. The second is the margin, which indicates whether we are applying the operation on the row or column. And the third one is the fun, which means function, which specific operation or function we want to apply on the data. So this is about apply function. We can also create apply functions with loops. So basically, an apply function is essentially a loop. If we see an apply function is basically a loop, but it runs faster than loops and often requires less code. So basically, apply function is a function where we are trying to create this function and create some kind of looping. Because if it is a cumulative total, then in that case, we are accessing each and every row of the data frame or the matrix. Or in case it is a total of a column or row in a matrix, you can see that if we have to find out the row total or column total of a matrix, and if we do the same thing in C or C++ or Java, we need to have loops. We need to have two loops, and the two loops will keep track of the inner index and the outer index, so that we can access each and every element of matrix. But here in the apply function, we are doing it so easily, and it is essentially a loop. It is creating a loop, but we are not able to see, and we are not doing that effort. We have only used the apply function, and we have passed the data frame or the matrix data, and then we just select the row and the column and the function name. So basically, the apply function is doing some kind of looping within the function, and it is a robust inbuilt function which is creating a lot of fun into the programming. Using lapply. Use the lapply function when you want to apply a function to each element of a list, a vector or data frame, and obtain a list as a result. So basically, if I'm going for lapply function, I'm applying the function to each element of the list. Basically, this function is applied to every element of the list, or if it is a vector or it is a data frame, and obtain a list. It finally results a list as an output. So basically, the function is lapply because it can work on lists, and it has two parameters. The first one is the list, the vector or the data frame. And the second one is the fun, which is the specific operation, or we can say the function that we want to work on X. You can see over here that X is the name of the list, vector or data frame. So X is basically a variable which is holding the data. Now, when it is a list, we all know that the data is of various types. It is a heterogeneous data. It can be within a list, there can be another list, or there can be a vector, there can be a vector data frame or an individual variable. So X is basically a variable which can be anything. That is why we cannot specify the row number or the column row or column selection like we were doing in the apply, because that was only for the data frame and matrices. But here, lapply is applied on variety of data types like lists and vectors. So let's have a look of list and see how it works with square brackets. Now, in this, you can see over here that when we create a data frame with 3 columns, how we do it. So there are 3 columns and 5 rows. So you can see if there are 5 rows, in that case, I'm passing a vector which is of size 5. So you can see over here data.frame, there A equals to 1, 3, 7, 12, 9. B is equal to 4, 4, 6, 7, 8. And C is 14, 15, 11, 10 and 6. So you can see A, B, C are the 3 vectors that we are passing in data frames, and that we are storing in the variable data. Now, when we print this data on the screen, we get the output, and in the output you can see the results. It is 1, 3, 7, 12 and 9. B is 4, 4, 6, 7, 8. And C is 14, 15, 11, 10 and 6.